This special broadcast. We are here today at Kairaba Beach Hotel to bring to you the discussion among coalition stakeholders with regards to their agenda. Some said, well, the reviewing of the coalition agenda. It's been 2 years down the line since the coalition came to power. They come together, a party of coalition of 7 parties and 1 independent candidate came together, and 2 independent candidates came together and defeated the former president, Yahya Jammeh. And the coalition had since had a lot of issues. There had been confrontation between partners and parties. We've seen it. Some people have also been fired as a result. And so here with us to discuss the coalition and the agenda today and the meeting and what the parties to the coalition agreement seeks to achieve is Mr. Mohamed Magazi. He has been a party to these coalitions from the beginning to the end. He is an independent National Assembly member from Basse. Mr. Magazi, we're glad you could join us. Thank you very much. Could you share with us first what is the reviewing of the coalition agenda? Let's know why are we here.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to. I think your program comes in the afternoon.
It's live already.
Okay, all right. Then good morning to everybody. I think I am very glad and very happy. Hence, I am accountable to the Gambian people. It's their rights to hold me accountable. And answering to your call is to show my availability to that task. So today we have gathered here the stakeholders, partners, the coalition stakeholders. But first of all, let me do a little correction. When we say coalition, it's 7 political parties and 3 independents.
3.
Among those 3 independents, we have 1 independent presidential candidate, aspirant.
Yeah.
That's Dr. Aissatou Touré, and 2 concerned National Assembly members.
That's you.
That's me and Honorable Buba Aisane. This is the coalition. But these mistakes going around, everybody who get the media, in fact, among the stakeholders, except Omar O.J. Jallo, all of them will go and say 7 political parties and 1 independent. And so things need to be corrected. If I contribute to the creation of history, if history is being read, I should not be forgotten. I and Honorable Asane, we have contributed to change in government through coalition as partners. So therefore, to do that rectification, next time say 7 political parties and 3 independents, which include Dr. Aissatou Touré, Honorable Mohamed Magazi, and Honorable Buba Aisane. Coming to your question, today we have come and gathered as coalition stakeholders to review our agreement, to review the plan we have put ahead, to review the mechanism that we have laid for the good governance of this country. That's the purpose of our meeting. So in the meeting, these are the agenda items that we are going to discuss. Bearing in mind what the Gambian people today are in for, being the interpreters of the Gambian people to the parliament, to the cabinet, to the Gambian people. We are hearing them, they are talking to us. We convey their message to whom it should be conveyed to. But we cannot do so individually. We have to come together, sit down, bring all those ideas together, and from there we take a decision. And at the end of the meeting, the outcome of the meeting will be now the decision of the meeting that will encompass everything.
So tell us, when you said we would review the agenda of the coalition, let's go into the specifics. What are the agendas of the coalition that you are going to review, and what do you seek to achieve? What are the specifics?
The greatest expectation of the Gambian people at the point in time we are is the agreement on 3 years. whether we will continue with 3 years or we are going to honor the provision of the 1997 Constitution.
And go for 5 years.
And go for 5 years. These are now the two ideas on the balance. We are going to see. The coalition is some Gambians. The Constitution is all the Gambians. Now, some Gambians have spoken. All Gambians have spoken. Now, this is a food for thought. It depends. We are going to see what we said yesterday and what Gambian people are saying today. Are they speaking the same language? We know it. If they are not speaking the same language, we know it. If they are speaking the same language, we know it. But when we come to the venue of the meeting, that is the time we are going to gather all those ideas and compare with the reality on the ground. From there, we will draw a conclusion.
So, aside from the 3-year/7 year or 3 year versus 7 years, which the 3 year versus 5 years, which, well, some of your members have already preempted by saying, well, it would be reasonable for us to ask of 3 years. But you know that also, even if you were to settle for 3 years, what powers do you have over the executive president to implement that?
We are, as at now, if we take any position, we are prehumbling the outcomes of the meeting, because that's the reason why we came together. Even if some people have already shown their position, that's at the individual level. And every Gambian is entitled to his opinion in anywhere. But if we come to coalition, we have to come together, take a position together. And we're going to take one position that will be known to every Gambian.
Aside from the 3-5 years, tell us what other issues are you coming to talk about?
Well, apart from that's the major issue, as you know.
Of course, you have an agenda when coming to power, to the reform agenda. I know the CRC is running, and the Constitutional Review Commission. I know the Truth, Reconciliation, Reparation Commission is running, and some other transitional programs. But and there are concerns too, perhaps that some might be delayed or some are delayed. And are there concerns with regards to transitional programs you people have aspired to put in place when you come to power?
You know what is in folder. If it is not unfolded, you cannot know the content.
So right now,
it is in folder. You're coming to meet on that.
Okay.
If we unfold it, whatever will be the ingredient will be known to the Gambian people.
Okay, but maybe I hold you for some 2 minutes, because currently, when you people were coming to power, you had campaigned to elect a transitional leader who is going to be controlled by what you had anticipated to be a coalition secretariat. There is currently no coalition secretariat. There was never a coalition secretariat. And then again, you came to have an executive president who has all the rights and can, as opposed to your agreement which states that the president's appointment will be in consultation with that coalition secretariat. That never happened. The firing should be in consultation with the coalition. It never happened. Now you have an executive president who says, look, I don't have to listen to anyone. I am the president and the commander-in-chief. I do what I like. What makes you think that you can come together and do anything and have it binding on him?
I hope that you are now giving me an assignment.
I'm speaking the reality.
Since I said whatever we're going to discuss is unfold, is in folder. So whatever Gambian people may think of, since the first day of the coalition up to date, whatever the Gambian people may think of is part of the fold. We're going to discuss on those things, but the outcome at the moment, at this material time, cannot be known to everybody.
Okay. Finally, you were one of the outspoken people in National Assembly before the National Assembly before with Samba Diallo and others. You were technically an opposition then. And you campaign also on the coalition platform. I was following the coalition on everywhere they go on the campaign trail. Do you feel that the principles or the programs upon which the platform upon which you stood to sell your programs and policies is still the agenda of the coalition government, quote unquote, or you've been derailed somehow? Are you trying to put it in track? Is that what this meeting is about?
I am really media friendly. It's now a journalist versus teacher. I'm a teacher. I have my plan. I'm going to the classroom. Unless I follow the steps that I have in my lesson plan, that the time I will know whether my students have understood the lesson or they didn't understand. But I cannot preempt and to say this is going to be the outcome. But whatever Gambian people thought of and think that we should answer to them on that, we're going to put that into consideration. After the consideration, the outcome, we will not sit on the outcomes. We will give it to you to convey to the Gambian people.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Okay.
Wait. Ikanabi dia fanfal. Mkoto le kodo kina. Bentata dula de dwo ko so mbata sa.
So that's being it. I mean, he's Mohamed Magazi. He's the National Assembly member for Basse. He was part of the coalition from the word go. He was a National Assembly member who had stood against Jammeh in all levels. He was one of the few people in the National Assembly who had been very outspoken against what he considered to be some very bad policies of the former government. When the coalition discussion came into being, he joined with two other independent candidates. And today, well, they were also one of the first people to have started the coalition discussion. You may remember the coalition discussion was started by a middle rank executive members who had actually, in fact, drafted an MOU way before the Kairaba talks began. But that was when Kairaba talks began later, and then later to YMCA, which Fatmata Tambajan chaired, which gave birth to what we now know called the coalition government. So we're now going to walk into the hall to bring you the meeting and discussions among partners as they begin their dialogue.
Wait. Ikanabi dia fanfal. Mkoto le kodo kina. Bentata dula de dwo ko so mbata sa. Murana said, Yamobe wanted to do about Fala. Kabri Kalilu.com not a more data. Huh? Ikatara Sirila Suokono, Yamo, Furokono, Pichu. Huh? Message you abonate to Amdu. Full credit, cash power. Huh? Mandawale, Maniboto, Dulino. Ikatara Sirila Suokono, Yasa online, Kalilu.com, Yasa made a fellow Suokono. But I tell you, go, the woman cannot promote. No problem, money transfer. What no problem? Money transfer me, didn't how you don't get our money transfer for it. Most of the dunia down trending. As a Kodoki and all through Kalilu.com, Yasa made a phone, ya message you send a phone on Zim. Yet a bank miss a Zim. Yakodota Zim, Yanasila Soko Zim. But I tell you, Margara. Abarabaki. Eh, go Kalilu.com. 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 Maning kolko nimboro lo manjamfa. Koma tula bukalong. Ining Kalilu.com. Ila dunia diata.
Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Brusubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan or a service plot with 2-year payment plan plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Sea View Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.
To be centered on, according to them, the review of their agenda. So I'm here with these two journalists to talk to us about what this review means and what do Gambians expect at the end of the day. Mr. Sane, let me begin with you. When you heard there was going to be a review of the coalition agenda, what came to mind?
Thank you very much for having me in this platform. When I heard of the whole idea of the coalition survival meeting, what first came to my mind, what should they have done which they didn't do at the first place, why they are calling for this meeting? Because the coalition itself, is well documented and well taught, when they come together in 2016 to form this coalition. They all have something that binds them together, and it's well documented and well explained to each of the political parties, and they all agree, and they adhere to it, and they sign for it, and then it lead them to a convention on the 30th October in Kairaba here, and they select a flag bearer. So if you said you are coming to have a meeting to review or to have a meeting for the survival of the coalition, then what must come to our mind is that something should have been done which they failed to do. That's why today they are thinking of to meet and see how best they can make the coalition to survive as they plan it. So they have failed in their homeworks. What should have been done is what they are doing today. That's why they are having this meeting.
So when the coalition was being formed, it centered around certain ideas, certain agenda. And you were there, I mean, when at Kairaba the convention happened, I have keenly followed the discussions of all political leaders. And of course, having in mind reading the MOU which spelled out the coalition agenda. What do you think of the coalition agenda based on so far the performance of the parties involved?
Okay, the whole idea of why the coalition was necessary, the whole Gambian people will know that definitely for 22 years this country has suffered a lot, and we see today that there is no single political party that can effect the change that we need for the Gambia to have a new start. So these people come together. Since this idea is there is no single political party that can remove the former president here, and the country was heading to a war because people were oppressed. People were, they have no other option but an uprising, to make sure that they remove Jammeh. And we can see that example in the December attack when a group of Gambians mobilized themselves to make sure that they remove Yahya Jammeh from power. And as the trend is going on, people are getting more frustrated to use any means to remove Yahya Jammeh from power. So when other political experts sit and look at this scenario, they said what we can do is to forget about all our political parties and come together and build a coalition that will remove Yahya Jammeh, because that option of uprising is not a solution because you don't know where it will lead. So they came together and discussed, put all their political difference aside, said we're gonna select somebody, we are not gonna even negotiate in terms of political parties, because in the past they have been calling political parties to come together and form a coalition. But they feel like, whenever we call the political parties, we end up failing. So what can we do now? Let us now talk to the presidential candidate, and they tell all political parties, go and select your flag bearer. So when they select their flag bearer, now they invited those presidential candidates for a discussion. So the matter was no more between political parties, but between presidential candidates who won and rule this country. They said, now we are in a scenario here. All of us, we cannot remove Yahya Jammeh here. The last election results, Yahya Jammeh scored 47% of the vote. And combine all the political parties, the second was 17%, the last election, which was UDP. So the others are percentage were 5, 10, 15. So even you combine all together, you will not definitely have this. But let us see how best we can bring the coalition, invite independent National Assembly members and that of independent civil societies, so that at least we can
to be specific, two independent National Assembly members.
Yeah, Mohamed Magasi and Buba Aysane. These are the two, and then you have the civil society, which is Fatmata Tambaja, was invited, so that they can at least open the coalition to be more big, in terms of size, so that they can remove the former president. So these people sat and they discussed. They know that this is the only way. Even other political parties were even on the verge of having a campaign when there was a negotiation in this kairaba here. They were trying to form, other political parties went to test their power to see whether they can make it without joining the coalition. We can see Aisha Toure was on the campaign trail. She came lastly, even she called to say that when I arrive in Combo, I will definitely assign to the agreement that I will join the coalition. By then, the talk was in Kairaba. Barrow too went and test his power, and he find out that definitely I will not succeed, because people have around the countries and tell them that the only way to remove Jame is for all of us to come together and form a coalition. So when he tested his power and found out that definitely this will not succeed, he took them and joined the negotiation until they agreed on whatever they agree. But what I am sure of, on the 17th of October, they all gathered in Kairaba here. And when they sat, they said, we are coming to form a coalition. And we must have something that will bind us together, so that we will use that as a yardstick to measure all the success of the coalition. And in this, since all of us want to be a presidential candidate, and at this material time, we can only have one political party, one party presidential candidate. So let us come and have an agreement how we will select this party. They said all political parties will select 70 delegates from each area. They will come with 70 delegates. And when they come with the 70 delegates, whoever is going to be selected as the flag bearer of the coalition must adhere to 4 key principles, so that they can agree and go for the convention. And these 4 things were that the president must resign from his political party, so that he will be an independent president, so that all of us can take the ownership of the party. Yeah. Because if it is political, and all the supporters, all the supporters, they will know that this is a unifying factor. So they agree on this thing. And they said the president must serve for 3 years. Why the 3 years is that for 30 years, for 54 years, this country has not changed through the ballot box, since we know ourselves. The first president served here for 30 years. The second president served here
then there was a coup.
Yeah, there was a coup. The second president served for 22 years, and until this. So we see that, whenever they stay too much in power, they become self-perpetuating rulers, and they impose themselves on us. They oppress us. About power hungry or anything, but we want to change a system that we feel like is not fit for the country. Start whereby people will serve, and you will be there, and we will open the radio station, and everybody will be educated, and we will know how to select a leader. Constitutional right, the right to be voted and to be voted for. So this was the whole idea of it. But at the end of the day, when we emerge, when they emerge to be part of this, agreements that bind them together. So that's why we have this problem today, what we are facing today. But hadn't been that, they have adhered to this thing, know that this is a transitional government, and a transitional government meant to build the institutions for the Gambian people to have a new start, but not to put that personality here, then we will not be in the scenario where we are today. So this was the problem.
Yeah, so, I mean, you were too following the coalition, the debate, the beginning, the forming of the coalition. And as Checks has said, there were certain set of agenda upon which they came and the promises that were made to the people. Do you think that 2 years down the line that agenda had become prioritized by the political leaders of the coalition?
Yes, thank you, Mustafa. I'm very happy to be part of this discussion. Just to answer your question, I think the coalition has failed the Gambian people, to be honest with you, because when they first had the meeting, you understand, it seems like all of them agreed in removing Jammeh from power, but they are all having different priorities. And one of which, of course, is, you understand, to come and form the transitional line to at least bring all the Gambian people together after removing Jammeh. But along the line, themselves as a coalition members has a different interest. Having that different interest also made them to feel the Gambians. And the only thing that they have achieved, you understand, in forming the coalition is removing Jammeh from dictatorship, you understand, to bring Gambian people to be independent-minded. But aside from that, to answer your question, Mustafa, I don't think that the coalition people are really fulfilling their promises that they made.
If I get you clear, your argument is that there perhaps were hidden agendas as they were coming together. Not everything was came with a clenched fist.
Yes, Mustafa, you need to understand
with
that
the content
each and every one of them as a coalition member, they all want to be a president of the Gambia. Whether they know it or not, whether the Gambian people know it or not, but each and every one of them, they all want to be a president of the Republic of the Gambia. You understand? In order to at least remove Jammeh, for them to have organize a coalition, and they have been failing. 2016 came, form it, you understand, which is to remove Jammeh. That will also open the opportunity to each and every one of them to contest for an election. This is why they will go for 3 years mandate, you understand, for the independent to rule for 3 years. At the end of the day, they will all at least go back to their political parties to form a new leader, you understand. And I can tell you that Gambian people were really disappointed, you understand, in the coalition members in general, because the only intention and the only aims and objective they had was to remove Jammeh. But apart from that, I can tell you that the intentions differ from each and every one of them.
Let me come back to you. I mean, one of the major issues that had been discussed while the coalition was formed, after the coalition was formed, was the prevention of what many of them regarded as an executive president. The creation of an executive president as opposed to a transition president. An executive president who would only appoint in consultation with a quote-unquote coalition secretariat. An executive president who will fire quote-unquote in consultation with the coalition secretariat. But there wasn't in fact a coalition secretariat after the election. So the president called a lot of people, or you appointed minister and they, congratulations, call his family and they congratulated him. Do you think that the agenda was forgotten right after the election?
Yes, actually, the whole idea of the coalition, if you read the contents of the MOU that bind them, because the MOU should be the working document of the coalition, that was the whole idea. The 17th October, people differ to know what is the MOU and the agreement. The agreement was how they will come together to form a coalition. But the MOU is the working document of the coalition, like a guiding tool, because we know that we have a very bad constitution, and all of the opposition parties were even talking about that constitution at the first place. Everybody on their campaign, we have a bad constitution, some call it soldier constitution, there were so many names. So they believe that, if you want to have a new start, you cannot rely on that very constitution at this time. So what are we going to do? Let us have a president who will be a coalition president, not an executive president. And in the process, we will amend the constitution so that it will fit the Gambian people and it will speak the language of the Gambian people. Because the constitution was never speaking the language of the Gambian people, but it was speaking the language of somebody, the executive, who is in power. And he have all authorities to fire and sack and do anything. They said now to have a new start, we will rely on our MOU, and this MOU, it is very clear stated there, they will have a committee, the coalition will have its own headquarters, so that they will be having consultation. It will have its own finance committee, whereby it will be sponsoring, not the president will be sponsoring, but they will look for funds. They will, like during the National Assembly election and the councillors election, they will be sponsoring there, whereby you will not have the president interfering, sponsoring candidate. At the end of the day, they will run in the dictates of the president. So this were all plans, and they will have a committee called the Good Governance Committee. And this Good Governance Committee will constitute, if the president want to appoint any person to be a minister, he will just come and say, like, I want to appoint you as a minister. He will just come with a nomination process, like he will nominate. It will be approved. Then it will be sent, the name will be sent to the committee. And this committee will look at the CV of this person, the track record of this person, and if he satisfies all the criteria that are there, then they will advise the president, yes, the person you have nominated is fit for this purpose and he can go. So this is the whole idea, not that the president will just choose for somebody and just come out. So this was the whole idea, so that definitely we will have a person in office who is competent and know why he is elected, not based on somebody has sacrificed for this country and he should be, even he cannot serve the purpose why we want the person there. At the end of the day, we will have an institution that is not, we will have somebody in office who didn't know the technical know-how, but because he's compensated. And this is what we want to make an end to. Because we have accused the former president that people were appointed based on the royalty to the president. So we want to have a new start. This is the whole purpose of the coalition. And these institutions, the moment the coalition finished, the first thing that we had was, the MOU doesn't give power to the president, because if he adheres to the MOU, then that means that the president will be powerless. It's just like a toothless bull. At the end of the day,
so we will come to the conflict between the coalition MOU and the constitution, and also the irony of taking an executive power from an executive president. We'll come to that in a minute. But first, I want to take us through the coalition secretariat, which was supposed to be a monitoring mechanism for the coalition, for the implementation of the coalition agenda. Isn't it a plausible argument that perhaps with the collapse of that coalition secretariat came the collapse of the coalition?
Yes, but the whole, if you could remember, before the National Assembly election, they share a money between the coalition partners so that they will sponsor their candidate, and vehicles were distributed. Because immediately after the
pickups,
the
coalition 2016
immediately after the election, the coalition have this idea that the coalition will continue for the transitional period, and they have informed all the coalition partners that let us look for a fund so that we can sustain this coalition within the 3 years. And all political parties start, looking for funds from their supporters or any other person to gather it together so that they will sustain this coalition for the transitional period. With the idea that the secretariats and everything will be sponsored by the coalition, it's not like the president will be sponsoring. This was the whole idea about it. And they gathered funds together. Political parties went and look for funds in any way they could have it. So, but prior to, before they go to the National Assembly election, they have disagreement, and they end up everybody go on your way.
So-called technical alliance versus the independent. So do you think that's the beginning of the end?
That was not even actually the first beginning. The first beginning was when they said the president cannot agree to the MOU, because that was the first argument based on them. And
3 years versus 5 years.
Not even the 3 years, because they feel like, if president adhere to the MOU, then that means that he will just like a toothless bull. He will not have any power, and if the president doesn't have power, that means that he is not a president. So, but we don't wanna put the power in the president. But we say the power should be based, the power, people owns the power, and they should dictate how the country will run. And we said now, since we have a new start, we want to give back the powers to the people to determine what we want. It's not about the president. Like I said, the change was not to put a personality or put a political party there, but we want the Gambian people to have the say in the way and the manner the country will be run. So, but people believe that if president have that, then he cannot do anything. Anything he has to do, he has to consult his coalition partners. And I think that it was a very good start, because we will have put the foundation on the ground. And any president that comes, we imitate each other. They will know that definitely the former president was here. He was not acting like this. And if you act like that, Gambian people will judge you. And the next time you go to the polls, they will not vote for you.
So to put it short, let me take this one to Kamara and see what he thinks of it. The coalition was the same as its leadership, was as good as its leadership. And the coalition agenda, as Kex has said, was to elect a transitional leader. And the transitional leader now has become an executive president, with all the powers that comes with it. And in fact, he was quoted some time as saying that he does not need to consult anybody on 3 or 5 years. He is the president of the Republic of the Gambia. And rightly so, because the constitution backed him. Do you think the coalition currently has anything binding? Can dictate anything to the president?
Yes, Mustafa. When you just made mention of the coalition having their own MAU, and you also have the constitution also, of course, which is guiding the Gambia in its administration. I think anybody who comes to at least assume leadership in the Gambia will always go on the dictate of the constitution, not the dictate of the MOU agreement. So this is where the problem lies. Maybe when Barros started realizing
perhaps the conflict between the coalition MOU and that of the constitution.
Yes, that because the president, having that belief and knowledge that he has the executive power through from the constitution guidance, I think he will not want to go to the MOU, you understand, of the coalition. That's where the problem between the constitution started, because the president is trying to exercise his executive powers, you understand, to the people whom he had, you understand, agreement earlier on. And this is where the problem is coming from, Mustafa, because when Barrow assumed leadership to at least in the Gambia, president of the Republic of the Gambia, he went back to at least the constitution to at least have the review of the constitution and knows that these are my powers. This is what is guiding me, you understand, when I become the president of the Gambia. So who am I, sort of, you understand, to go on the agreement of the MOU?
But they were relying on, if you ask the coalition leaders, they will tell you, well, it's morally binding on him that he becomes a man of his words. He's the president of the Gambia.
Yes, Mustafa, I think you need to remember when
perhaps they were relying on his goodwill.
Little before 1 year he started becoming the president, Barrow came and said that the people will now decide whether he will serve for 3 years or 5 years, knowing that that time he has fully understand the constitution of the Gambia, that what the constitution said
and
is
instantly say no one can force
him out. So what he was trying to tell people that right now he is being guided by the constitution, not the MOU that is being, you understand, and being drafted by the coalition members. This is why he said now the Gambian people will now decide whether he will rule for 3 years or for 5 years. And knowing, having fully understanding of the constitution, now this is where the agreement or the problem is having between them as a coalition members. Because like I told you earlier on, all of them are having interest in that seat, you understand? And having the interest in the seat, of course, they will also not want to agree on the agreement that they all have among themselves. So this is the problem. And even we are currently here witnessing a meeting that will also try to bring them together again. But Mustafa, the only problem that will at least bring them to be continue having misunderstanding is is about this 5 years or 3 years leadership. That is and the power. And power. That is the only problem.
Right, so let me bring it back to you.
Because before I just want to help my brother here when he said that the president should act to the dictate of the constitution. That's why he looked at it and said that the constitution mandated the president to serve for 5 years, and that's why he's adhering to the 5 years. These people, before they come together, they look at the constitution and look at which provision can we rely on to say that the president will resign after the 3 years. And if you go to our constitution, section 68 of our constitution, make it very clear how the president can leave office. And it is very clear that the president can resign anytime after resuming office. By then, in our constitution, if the president resigns, the vice president will serve for 90 days and we go for election. But Jammeh feel like, he's not comfortable with that clause, then he changed it that if the president resides, then the vice president will continue for the rest of the term. So that was removed from the constitution. It was amended, and for the vice president to serve for the rest of the time. The coalition rely on this and say that since in our agenda is to have a constitutional review, and we can select a person and say that this person will serve for 3 years. Based on that, we will go to the National Assembly and amend that section to say that if the president resigns, that after the 3 years, then the vice president will serve for 90 days, and Gambian people go to the polls and elect somebody who they want.
That's
that's how it was in the 1965 constitution and the other thing. That's what they want to bring again, because it was amended by somebody to suit him. So this is the very section that they rely on to say that let's agree on the 3 years. So if people say that it's not in line with the constitution, then one will say that this 65 years was not in line with the constitution. But it happens to be a constitutional requirement now, because why they went to the National Assembly and removed the upper age in the constitution, whereby everybody can serve up to 1,000 years. Even you have 1,000 years, you can be a vice president or you can be a judge in this country. By then, you cannot be a judge after 65 years. You cannot be a vice president or president after 65 years. But this was never in the constitution during the prior to the coalition 2016.
To suit the
so that's the same that you will use to say that the president can resign after the 3 years. So it's not about going against the constitution. It is very clear in the constitution the president can be impeached. It is very clear in the constitution.
But you can only rely on his goodwill.
No, I'm saying yes, he can be. What I'm saying that there are ways how to remove a president. I don't say that we will, because even there are procedures before. But the president can feel ill, may God forbid, and you know that mentally he cannot serve. Yes, and you can remove the person. Those are the ways. So the constitution has already provided a way how the president can leave office. And he went and said that he can, even today he is elected. Tomorrow he can say that definitely I want to resign. So that's why that section is in the constitution. It was just amended. So you will go back to the National Assembly and amend that section. Then the president will just go out without violating any constitution of this country. So it's not about violation of the constitution.
Absolutely. I think that point is very clear now. I want us to discuss now the last key point. We know the stakeholders of the coalition are meeting here, right next room, in the next room. And we know that all of the parties are currently here, independent candidates. I think with the exception of PDYS, we are not sure if they are even informed. And we're not also sure whether the means that we are used to inform various parties. But what we know is that we know that all the other parties are here, and the two independents are here. Dr. Aissatou Toure's representative, we've not seen one for now. I have not seen one.
Sure.
But Mohammed Magazi is here. Buba Aishane, we know it's out. It's not actively participating in politics now. But you've talked about something that's very interesting. Well, the coalition said they're coming to review the coalition agenda. And we know for a fact that the coalition secretariat is not existing. We know the president is an executive president who hires and fires at will. We know the president has been quoted time and time again saying he does not need anyone to decide whether he stays for 3 years or 5 years. Then it's coalition in fact existing. Is the agenda in fact here to be reviewed?
For me, it's when I heard of the meeting, I just first look at it. What is there that binds them together? What is there that binds them together? If you say a coalition, there must be something that binds you together. That's why you call it a coalition. When two or three people are coming together, you must have something that will bind them together, and that is what we are not seeing today, right now. Because if you look at the appointments, they are not based on. The president made it very clear that he's not going to resign for the 3 years. And we have seen during the National Assembly election, let us just be factual. We have seen the president say that he's from United Democratic #1, and he had made it very clear that
there were allegations that he also campaigned
for the coalition. So, and that was very clear in their agreement that you should not show your political affiliation to any political party. And also, now what is there that they will review? This coalition could, every 6 months they should have a meeting.
And those were not happening.
was not happen after 2 years. And we went to, when they said they are going to celebrate the 1 year of the coalition, they never celebrate the 1 year of the coalition, but they celebrate the 1 year of President Adama Barrow. Because if it is to celebrate the coalition was formed on the 30th of October. So the following year, 30th of October, should be the coalition. But they celebrated the day President was on the 19th, when he was sworn in Dakar. That was the celebration that happened in Buffer Zone. That shows you that it's not about the coalition anymore, but it's about the President. When I made an argument about, I said, if they say they are celebrating the 1 year of the coalition, I said, no, they are not celebrating, they are celebrating the President. Because the coalition was formed on the 30th of October. So if they are to celebrate anything that has to do with the coalition, should be in this date, not any other one. So, but they went on the 19th and they celebrated at Buffer Zone and they all danced there and dispatched. So there is nothing that binds them together as a coalition. So I just see this meeting, you know, I just see it, come on. Let's wait and see the outcome, because there's nothing that they can say that this is what was binding us together, and this is, they all didn't adhere to the agreement at the first place.
But I mean, a lot of who are inside, the like of Madam Tambajan, the former Vice President, Mr. Kumar Chalo, the former Agriculture Minister, Ajay Seka, and of the United Democratic Party, Al Mametal of the United Democratic Party, and host of others, were in fact part of the coalition when everything was tearing apart, but there was no such meeting. Do you think this was the right time, when after the president had already become an executive president?
That's what I told you. I said the timing was very wrong, because we have seen that the coalition was disintegrated. It's been disintegrated at the first start. That was the time they could have called for this meeting. I know. The agreement was that every 6 months they should come and sit and discuss as a family, so that they will know that these are our shortcomings and this is where we should improve. You know, all the time, the moment you sit, you look at your shortcomings. But this was not happening. But I thought when my Fatou and these other people were sacked at the first place, they could have come.
The first four.
Yes.
My Fatou sacked, and then later.
Yes, but it started from my. And when my was sacked, there was no representative of GMC in the executive, and automatically that was wrong. No matter how it is, my has contributed to this Adama Barrow being elected. So no matter how it is, if you are to remove my party from his position, you should go back to his party and look at another competent person who can replace my. If you feel like my has a problem, but there must be somebody in my party who is competent enough to serve in that cabinet. Then you replace the person with my party, then we will see the reflection of GMC in the coalition. But GMC was never represented in the coalition, and the coalition partners were comfortable with that. So since that time, they could have called Adama Barrow. They said, no matter how it is, my half came with 70 delegates. Even he didn't contest to be a presidential candidate, but he have given you that 70 delegates to support you. And all those 70 delegates voted for you. So removing my without a representative of GMC is not a fair play here. So why can't we look at somebody at GMC and bring him to replace my party, so that we will see the reflection of GMC in the coalition? This never happened. We went there, then the president said, come on, I have done this, and everybody was silent. So no, everybody was silent. And he went again. The second batch came. 4 were removed.
And now the third batch.
Yes, and the third batch came.
3 were.
So now you are calling for it. You could have acted earlier than this, because you don't wait until the damage is done and you said you want to amend it. When you see the damage is coming, you start, saying, look at how you will safeguard. But you cannot wait until the damage is already been done, and you said you are calling people when the president now knows that I have the executive power to do anything. And he understands everything that, I can do whatever and I'll be in line with the constitution, and that's exactly what he is doing right away.
Now the center is not holding, we know. Things have broken loose. But more importantly, we know whatever it is that comes out of a meeting would be non-binding on the president as an executive president with all the powers that comes with it. What do you consider to be the likely outcome of this meeting, and what do you think the effect would be on the governance environment?
Okay, Mustafa, I think we have to be very realistic. We understand that constitution is, so the coalition is there by the name, but realistically we all know there is no more existing. Because given the fact that almost most of the members that form the coalition seen or once tested the sacking or read the sacking letter, you understand, in one way or the other. I mean, most of them. So I think calling this meeting right now, where you have no pillar right now, at least becoming or to represent the coalition at the government right now, or even if you have a pillar, the person was once be sacked or demoted. I think to me, this meeting here today will not be a very easy meeting, and of course, and even if they are to come and tell the Gambian people that we have agreed on.
Well, signs are already there.
Yeah,
it's not an easy one.
Yes, to tell the Gambian that we have agreed on this and this and this and that. But I don't believe that, you understand, it will realistically be there, because right now we all know that it has teared apart already. So to bring the coalition back again, Mustafa, is not going to be easy, because most of their comment is about these 3 years and 5 years. Because you made Halifa Saleh comment that even OJ, when I had an interview with him, he said that he did not want to announce his removal from the coalition. He said, well, I will just see, because I am still part of the coalition, even knowing that he is no longer part of the coalition. Because OJ said, and I quote, that even when he sacked me, he has never called me. Until today, the president had never called me. And the way he also sacked me, I don't think that I will forever work in the coalition again, or work for Barrow again. Sorry. So realistically, we all know this meeting is going to be, of course, a very difficult meeting. And for me, what I'm observing, I don't think that there will be any reconciliation between the coalition and the president.
There are people who think that at least one thing it could achieve is perhaps some sort of calm in the political atmosphere. We know that UDP is going on its rallies, or the political partners are going on their rallies. And some say, and the president is also holding his own meetings in the state. And some say this has caused them enormous distraction and sort of deviate them from the core of their mandate, which they've promised the Gambian people. I mean, this could perhaps cause some calm if they could bring parties together. Or has trust been broken already?
Yeah, you know, the whole idea of the coalition, at the first place, they said, the 3 years, when they got it, they said, within these 3 years, let us all forget about our political parties. That was the whole idea. For 3 years, for the sake of Gambia and the interest of the Gambia, let us forget about our political parties and build a sovereign Gambians whose political loyalty will not be based on any sectional group, but will be based on the interests of the Gambian people. And how can we achieve that? To forget about all our political activities, since we have a president who, you know, emerged from all of us, because at the end of the day, the president represents all the stakeholders in the coalition. So within that time, whoever can contribute whatever to the success of this coalition can do so, whether you will be an advisor to the president, you want to go to the National Assembly, but let us put this. And the whole idea was, even by right, they could have invited the Gambian people who are in the diaspora to create an expert bank, which is called the Clusters of Experts. And that meeting was held here in Kairaba, and they have drafted everything that they will invite all the diasporas or any Gambian who feel interest to help us to succeed in this transition. By doing so, they will submit their CVs to a committee. Then that person will review the documents, and they will create a clusters of experts which will come with a blueprint to direct all the ministries of their transitional agenda. And the political parties can do whatever they feel like doing by advising the president or other things. We all forget about political parties and concentrate on President Barrow as the president. Since
that is now a missed opportunity.
Yeah, but since people start campaigning, looking at the party, automatically there will be a conflict of interest. Because Adama Barrow is here, and you said you want to support Adama Barrow, and at the same time you want to, promote your party's agenda. One must survive and one must die, and that's what brings the problem. Because at the end of the day, if you either concentrate on Adama Barrow to support his agenda, the coalition agenda, or you support your party to concentrate on your agenda. At the end of the day, it's either this one survive or this one die. And that was the serious problem that we have. So Adama Barrow went and understand that actually these people are within my coalition, claiming that they are part of us trying to promote my agenda. But at the end of the day, they are looking at their party interest, trying to promote their party, and it's deviating from the main purpose of the coalition. So he didn't feel comfortable with them. But for 3 years, for the sake of Gambia, we have seen PPP here for almost 10 to 20 years. They were not talking on a PPP platform, but that doesn't make PPP to die as a political party. For 15 good years, DOI has not been talking on their platform as DOI. From United Front to NAT, from NAT to Coalition 2016, they were trying, to join how best they could form a coalition. And other political parties. Henry Gomez, after the 2016 election, he ran. My party, after that, he was not taken on their platform. I said, but still now the party is here. So for 3 years, for the sake of the interest of the Gambia, let's forget about our parties and build a Gambia whereby we'll take the ownership of it. And when we go to the polls, we will know that we are electing this person, not based on he is from my family or he is my tribe or my father vote for, but we'll vote the person based on the interest of the Gambia, and by doing so, we'll open the radio station to divergent views, whereby politicians will come and sell their policies and educate the citizens why you should put somebody at that office and what is your responsibility as a citizen and what is the responsibility of the person in that office. Then by then, all the Gambian people will be conscious enough to know how they will elect a leader, and by then we will have a Gambia whereby nobody will look at any sectional group or any other interest, but the sovereign interest of the Gambia will be at stake when we go to the polls. So this was, but since the political, emerged, right, definitely there's a conflict of interest, and that's what we are seeing today.
So, one question for both of you, because we are running out of time. We have just 1 or 2 minutes. Are we at a point where we can salvage it?
It will be very.
That's why we are here.
I know it will be very difficult because why I said prior to even the meet, I read a newspaper, and I heard the chairperson say that it will be very unrealistic. That was the headline, for the president to resign after 3 years.
He was already preempting the discussion.
And she is the one who gathered these people together.
Yeah.
And if you say that it will be very unrealistic, already you have made your judgment when you didn't even start the negotiation. So one of the partners will say, then why am I even called when somebody who should call us and listen to both parties and be the judge is telling us it's very unrealistic?
What does that take us to? By the way, do you think it could have been Barrow's own way of doing this through somebody to legitimize his extension to 5 years?
Actually, Barrow himself is not interested because we have seen that there's no representative here. And today by 1 o'clock, Barrow would be.
Mr. Jeng is here. He's a presidential advisor.
Okay.
Musa Jeng.
No, Musa Jeng was. The coalition have so many people that were part of the coalition. Some you were not seeing them because we are more concentrated on the political leaders than on the people. But there are so many people.
He's a political advisor.
Advisor. Yeah.
Advisor.
There were so many because when we met to understand that this coalition is the only savior. There are so many people that sacrifice to do so many things for the coalition. Musa Jeng was
not necessarily
but they were underground and they were doing so many things that I know. There are so many Gambians even in the diaspora who contributed millions, to this coalition. So Musa was part of it, and they feel like he have contributed. Maybe that's why. But the president could have sent a delegate and say that this is the person who will represent me here. The vice president, I didn't see one for now.
The vice
PDY is the same. So automatically, it shows that they didn't agree to whatever will be discussed here. That's
but were you privy to anything that PDY's position may be?
No, actually, I'm not privy, but I heard their administrative secretary, who is ED on Standard newspaper, which I read, that they are not invited to the meeting. So which we should ask Fatmata Tambajan, since she is the one who is trying to bring these people together. Whether they have
heard that too, that they've not got the letter.
So this is what we should establish from Fatmata, whether they have been actually been invited or not. Then maybe from here we can look at we can invite the Secretary General of the party and ask him whether he has received.
You are quite close to the Secretary General. What has he been saying? What do you think is his position on 3-5 years? You think it's likely he will compromise 3 years for 5 years at any point? Maybe he will say, oh, let's go for 5 years.
No, that's what I'm telling you. At the first place, I don't know, but if there was negotiation, it could be. It could be possible. At the end of the day, we all want a better Gambia. If the coalition has been intact, and they could have said, yes, this was our target, that within the 3 years the foundation will be laid. But, we didn't achieve that, so let us just leave him to complete the 5 years. It could be. So, but there was no, after the election, they forget about the coalition, and people have sacrificed so much, to build this coalition. So others might feel that definitely these people, has used us, or it was more of better. So they feel, their hands were tied no more. There was no consultation, there was no discussion. They didn't even call each other. So at the end of the day, the coalition was just a name, but actually it was never there. So these were the failures of the coalition. Hadn't been, they have been consulting, they will know the loopholes and they will amend those things. But this was the failure of the coalition.
All right. Is it we are here to actually save it, or they are here to save it? Is it savable?
I think that mission is going to be very difficult to save anything that binded them or that bring them together. For now, we are all here, but in our observation, Mustafa, is going to be very difficult to save the Gambia like they want it to be. Because
coalition agenda.
Coalition agenda, yes, because in the coalition agenda, that's where they stated to at least save the Gambia, you understand, to bring it where they want it to be. So I think one of which they achieve, of course, is removing them. Apart from that, anything that has also bring them together has been failing ever since the instance of the coalition.
So thank you very much, gentlemen. It's been an amazing time to spend with you. So we hope these discussions will come. We'll be here to bring you more important details that comes out of the meeting, and in about an hour time on this platform, we are bringing you the brunch. Not necessarily an hour time, in about 15 minutes time. That should be at 1 o'clock. We'll be bringing you brunch, and after brunch, perhaps we would be here, and if they come out of the meeting, the coalition partners, we'll have discussion with them, and until that time, we would say bye from us. Thank you.
Dreaming of owning a property in a prime location with great proximity and fantastic neighborhood? EJ Investments Sanyang Seaview Estate is the best choice you have been waiting for. Our Sanyang Seaview Estate is approximately 15 minutes drive away from the busy hub of Busubi roundabout and into the heart of nature, where you can have a peaceful and relaxed lifestyle with your family. You can buy a finished 4-bedroom story with 5-year flexible payment plan, or a service plot with 2-year payment plan option. With over 300 homes, you will enjoy big tar roads with covered drainage, modern electrification with solar street lights, gated entrance with security post, and a breath-catching experience of our beautiful sea view and lake view. You can own a home today at our Sanyang Seaview Estate. Call us today on 446-4838 or 325-9220. Visit our website on ejinvestments.net. EJ Investments, first in property.